Welcome to the Weather Insights Tropical Briefing. I'm meteorologist Scott Pitney along with meteorologist Jeff Lindner. We are recording this Sunday afternoon, August 3rd, 2025. And we are into August, Jeff, so we're starting the busy part of our tropical season. Now, the last couple of days on our daily forecast, I've been saying that no tropical storm or cyclone formation is expected in the next 7 days. And just like that, here we are, August 3rd, and now we're looking at three systems. Disturbance number one, this is an interesting one. It's non-tropical. It has a 70% chance of development. But you'll notice there it's already producing gale force winds, tropical storm force winds. So this is in association with that trough that's kind of lingering out there in the Atlantic, crossing over into the Gulf. So if this develops tropical characteristics in a center, we could see a tropical depression. At least National Hurricane Center is giving a 70% chance of becoming a depression in the next couple of days. Then we have disturbance number two, the orange hatched area. This has a 40% chance of development. This is a wave that came off the African coast a few days ago as it continues to move west northwest across the southern Atlantic basin. National Hurricane Center giving this a 40% chance of development, will likely head toward the western portion of the Atlantic later this week. And then finally, we have disturbance number three, National Hurricane Center giving this disturbance a 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. When you look at these systems on satellite, disturbance one, you can see that right there. Um, with some fairly decent looking clouds, some convection for development. I can see why they're giving this a 70% chance of development, even though it is subtropical right now. Disturbance two, not looking as impressive, pretty disorganized area out there in the southern Atlantic basin, but still with a 40% chance of development. And then disturbance number three, right there where your arrow is, again, fairly disorganized, but still with a chance of development. So we're getting into the busy part of the season, Jeff. And this is another good reason why it's a good idea to stay in touch with what's going on in the tropics because things can change very quickly.
Yes, I'm zoomed in here on our system here off the Carolina coast. What's they're claiming disturbance one. This is also 95L. And you can see there's pretty clear low-level circulation here. Thunderstorms developing near that circulation. It looks like it's still attached to the old frontal boundary here a little bit. So this is probably more of a subtropical feature now. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if this translates into a tropical system as it moves off to the northeast, out into the North Atlantic. And then this is the north end of a tropical wave. That's you can see the remnant, the wave axis here stretching back down towards Cuba. And this is going to push off to the west northwest this week and interact with this kind of trough here between the Bahamas and the Carolinas. And this could produce another potential system here off the southeast U.S. coast later this week. So there's two different areas here that are being monitored currently. The high chance here of development in the next 24, 48 hours, and this is that lower chance, but this chance could come up as it moves off to the west northwest. And so this is 95L, the track guidance, pretty well clustered out to see. Probably not a lot of deviations from this. Probably get maybe a tropical storm out of this. But one I did want to look at is mid to late this week. So this is the GFS ensembles for, I'm sorry, this is the European ensembles for Friday morning. You can see this is our system currently off the North Carolina coast, so it's out here into the North Atlantic at that point. This is that system north of Puerto Rico right now, and so there are some members here showing some development off the southeast U.S. off the Florida coast between the Bahamas and the Carolinas. There's not a lot of members there, so that's why the percentages are relatively low. And then this is that wave coming off of Africa currently that has a 40% chance of development. You can see it's a much stronger showing here on the ensembles and the European here for this wave. One thing I will say about the European, it has been a little aggressive this year so far in trying to develop tropical systems. So we'll see. The GFS is showing something similar. Here's our system off the Carolinas now, moving well out into the North Atlantic by Friday morning. It does have some members here, kind of stretched out from the mid-Atlantic back down towards Florida for some weak development late week with that wave north of Puerto Rico, and then it also has the wave coming off Africa with some members, and so I think this wave is probably going to be something that does attempt to develop as we go forward here. And I'm going to show a couple more things. The European guidance. So this is the chances for tropical cyclones. So this could be a depression, tropical storm, tropical depression forming this week. And so you can see again the kind of the three areas of interest. One here off the mid-Atlantic currently now spreading into the North Atlantic this week. This is that area currently down here that kind of comes up off the southeast United States coast. And particularly the European model is showing, 40-50% chances here of at least a tropical depression forming. So we may see that 20% coloring go up a little bit, and then this is our wave coming off of Africa. And then the last thing I wanted to show is the Google AI model. So this is something that's new. It's been in place at least last year. The National Hurricane Center is now starting to use this. So this is the deep learning model from Google. And there's a lot going on here, but what you can see here is the European ensembles in orange. So that's what I just showed you a second ago. Then you also have the high res deterministic, which is right here. So that's the yellow line. And then you have the Google model, which is the kind of the blue dots. And so you can clearly see here there's an emphasis with development with the system off the Carolinas. These little dots here, these orange and blue dots are the models showing some potential for development with the wave currently north of Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
And then you can see this clustering here out with disturbance number two, the wave currently coming off the African coast. And so this kind of gives you an idea if you use both of these together, some indication of how the Hurricane Center is coming up with those probabilities and kind of the areas where they're looking at for development as we get mid to late week. So it looks, like the system's probably going to develop off the Carolinas, probably going to get a name, head northeast out to sea. You can see out here into the North Atlantic, not affect anybody. We'll see here off the Carolinas and Florida if we get some development. This has been a fairly favored area this year so far. And so we'll see if we get something in here. And then this would be our first kind of what we call real true tropical system out here in the deep Atlantic and the tropical Atlantic this year. So we'll see if it can get going and overcome some of those negative factors we've been talking about. You can kind of see here on the satellite, there's still a lot of dry air out here. There's not a whole lot of thunderstorm activity down here along the intertropical convergence zone, and so there's some dry air. So there's still some negative factors to overcome. But it is interesting to start to see the longer range ensemble starting to hint that conditions are going to become more favorable. And we also have some seasonal and sub-seasonal things going on, what we call the MJO, moving from the Eastern Pacific into
Mhm.
the Atlantic here over the next week. And that generally makes things more favorable for development in the Atlantic basin. And so I think we're starting to see that. And it wouldn't totally surprise me in the next 7 to 10 days if we have one or two possibly even three named storms over the next 7 days or so here in the Atlantic Basin. So absolutely, it's like we flipped the calendar and things turned on in the Atlantic, and this is probably going to be the reality going forward for at least the next few weeks.
Yeah, as we always see in August, we see the Saharan dry layer subside some. We see different pockets of shear in different areas, leaving some areas for favorable development. And as the stats prove it. I mean, it's August and September, so here we go. And of course, you want to keep in touch with a trusted source. Keep it right here on the Weather Insights YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed and turn on those notifications. Also, share with family and friends. And then we have the Weather Insights daily forecast and all the Weather Insights social media. And then Jeff's blog on the website. Jeff, thank you very much. Until next time, have a good one.